Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Morning. Hey. Okay, so yeah, I'm Makoto, and I'm dev ENS domain, ENS, and I'm assuming everybody knows what ENS is for this workshop. I'm also hosting like a London Ethereum code app. Who else based in London? Okay, so if you wanna, if you hack and if you wanna show off your thing and stuff, just you ask me to host events. I do that semi-regularly, so come along and show the code. And also, I'm also known for this, things you and who registered on Kickback. Yeah, so like I checked, and currently about 74% people are checked in. So like Taurus were giving t-shirts with their own money. I give money to everybody from the people who didn't turn up, but only if you are checked in, marked as checked in. So if you go to the website and if you're not checked in, you lose your stake. So make sure that you go to the check-in counter, get checked, and if this is it, then we should get extra 7 DAI. Wow. Ooh. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. Sorry?
How long do you can retrieve it?
Sorry?
Can you retrieve it only for 1 week now?
That's a hard setting, but we usually have a longer period, so don't worry about it. Yeah. Yeah, but this is not about kickback session. This is about ENS. Yeah. So I wanted to tell a bit of a story that back in 2000, so ENS has been running since 2017, and in 2018, we had a ENS workshop plus hackathon, and this is one of the winners. What they did is like they kind of like wrap BTC, that kind of stuff. Then they wrapped ENS to make it as a nifty, like a NFT, non-fungible token. And at that time, I think ERC-721 standard only came like 6 months beforehand, and that was after like ENS first launched. So this was kind of new things. So we thought, oh, that's really clever idea. And we decided to steal their idea so that when we did the major upgrade about a year in May last year, we actually said, actually, ENS is now ERC-721. So that you can basically put in OpenSea and you can trade. So now it's kind of getting one of the highest traded asset on the OpenSea. And you can also see that we did a short name auction 3 months ago, and people are basically bidding all over the place. And one of the examples is like Amazon.ETH got bid for like 100 ETH and all that stuff. So I know that this is more for the speculation, but like this kind of tokenizing name as an asset suddenly tying to ENS is more like kind of variable to everybody. Also, like it's much easier to trade, and so like if you look at the whole ecosystem, the token transfers, you can see like probably ENS is third, next to CryptKitties and the Gods Unchained stuff. So the idea is like one small hack happened in the hackathon actually changed the ENS, and it kind of helped for reviving the popularity of ENS as it is now. So we really want to encourage that idea. So last year we sponsored this global hackathon. At that time we are still asking people to do basic thing of like integrating ENS into your app. So we are giving basically prize for anyone who just did the integration. But that was actually 2 lines of code. So it was a bit too easy. So this time we want to encourage for you guys to push the boundary of ENS, to make ENS more interesting stuff. So we just kind of changed it's still the same amount of money, but we just said like, if you do something interesting, we're going to put a bigger portion. So our prize is like 3 prizes, 600, 300, 100, and for something which kind of add a new feature into ENS, which we could later bring, put as a part of the ENS feature. But that sounds like it's a quite complex, but thanks to the kind of very modular structure of ENS, actually extending ENS is a lot easier than you think it is. So that's what I want to go through today. So yeah, so 3 things. Some of the ideas, is that, for example, so I already mentioned like any names longer than 3 characters are already auctioned. So everybody, it's all sold. But we actually have 1 character and 2 characters. So this kind of unicorn.is space is not in use. So like if you kind of come up with new way of like, sharing this namespace, maybe your solution could be one of the, unicorn.s, registration method. Or like ENS is basically a big key value dictionary. So you could create some sort of like turn ENS into new way of like storing data, build your dictionary. Or one of the stuff I get often asked is, it gets expired in the May 4th, 2020 unless you renew. And the ENS doesn't offer any sorts of renewal or any ways to make renewal easier. So maybe any ways to make that capability easier. Probably that's kind of ideas. And with that in mind, we will talk about 3 things. So ENS 1.1, I casually mentioned about registrar resolver, but it might not mean to you guys yet. So I'll just quickly go through what the whole architecture is. Then like I'm talking about basically building your own resolver, building your own registrar with some examples. Good so far? Yeah. Okay, so ENS 1.1. So that's my address, but like this is like when you say, hey, send me this to this, and then you either have to scan or like copy and paste. That's too hard. So actually, who do have ENS name? Okay, so 2, 3, 4 people. So like ENS looks like something like this. So like if you go to like MetaMask or even Etherscan, like if you search matokun.is, it actually turns into this address. So if you find this talk useful and you want to tip something to me, this is my name. So like like this is my name, and I put in a business card, and I also even put the back of my t-shirts, and so like you never forget, okay? And so now like, yeah, people kind of, one of the memes started happening after the short name auction that like, this is 7 character, but people start putting like their own like favorite Eric is like, I think 4 character is like, actually it's quite expensive, $100 a year or something, but like, he got it through auction, so like he put it. And so now there's over like 400,000 names actually registered, including subdomains. And yeah, there's lots of wallets and dApps, Taurus, right? Yay! Yeah, so and the Coinbase, I think recently announced somewhere. Yeah, maybe I forgot to put anyway. And there's over 100 dApps integrated. And most of them, how they integrate is like basically you go to our docs ENS domains, which has quite extensive way of information about how to do everything. So if you listen to my talk, and if there's something not clear, if you go to this page, most likely there's an answer here. And the easiest way to integrate is like I don't know, you guys use Web3.js or ESAS.js or favorite libraries usually kind of integrate with ENS. So in this case, it's like Web3.js, and actually Web3 is ENS already has it. And if you want to, for example, what's the Ethereum address of alice.is or matokun.is, all it does is ENS get address. So last year, this was a way to get 200 DAI. And we just realized that's too easy. So that's why we are going to the kind of ENS 1 or 2. So it's slightly advanced. And another way is, this is called for lookup. Another way you can actually do is, for example, this is our ENS manager, which allows you to basically manage your ENS names. When you log in, it automatically knows who I am. This is way it's called reverse lookup, and this is how it's achieved. Is again, you do the this is ESAS. Yeah, Web3.js doesn't support that, so ESAS.js supports the provider lookup address, and if you pass the address, it returns name. So it's very easy. And there's a Python version, Java version, all that stuff. So that was my entire talk last year. But like this year we go 1 step above. So now I'm going to talk about build your own resolver. But before talking about resolver, I was just going to talk about the entire architecture of ENS, which is like this. So we have something called registry, where it has basically the keys of like all the names. And when you look up, and I'll just go through this one first. That like if you go to ENS, that like hey, first like you say what is Makoto.is, it returns not the address of who, but it returns the address of so-called resolver. And resolver is another smart contract which defines how to resolve this name. And you ask to the resolver what's the address of who.is, and it returns the address. I think that makes sense. And so in case of registry, yeah, so this is actually the gist of the ENS registry. And it's actually about 30 lines code. But we found a bug 3 months ago, so we had to register. This is a part like it's kind of hard. ENS registry address is hard coded on everybody's project, so we had to migrate over like 200 different projects, or replacing the hard coded smart contract things. But usually this one should stay unless there's another bug. But what it does is like when you ask for the resolver your name, but it's in a byte 32 type, not the string. The reason is like if it's string, there will be, limited amount. But if it's like hash version, you can basically put as long as whatever the long name you can put time to fix. So hence we pass by 32. Then it returns this resolver address. And then what it does is like, once it returned, you also have a resolver contract where it defines whatever the rule. Most of the time it's just a key value store that like, you set this certain address for certain name, but this is like a very lame thing. It's like whatever I ask name, I just return one specific address, which is my address. So matokun.s goes to me, wasco.s goes to me. If you want to write that kind of resolver, you can do that if you want to. And in this example, I mentioned like return ECM address, but now ENS is going just beyond just resolving ECM addresses. So you can start resolve other stuff such as content hash, public key, ABI, text record, multi-coin, which I can explain. So multi-coin is like, you can actually put like Bitcoin address, Litecoin, Mona, Binance, whatever, shitcoin addresses, you can add it. And also, this is example key text record that like you can actually set your own keys and the values. And this is interesting one is .art is one of the internet domain. They actually integrated with ENS that like if you buy .art domain, you can basically put the record of your art history. But on the back, they actually stores in the key text field of the ENS, so like you can actually show the art attributes in our ENS manager, like this one. But on the back, it's just like a key value. So if you want to kind of experiment building your own dictionary, first go to places using the key value, text field. So that's one way. Another way, which happened in East New York, is that do you guys know Onion, like Thor, like anonymous browsing something? I don't really use, but for them, they also said like ENS, they have like gibberish addresses like this kind of stuff. So they actually, in their case, they kind of extended actually not only ENS to add new record, but they also extended MetaMask so that they can use, if you type like these things, you can like browse in Onion or something like that. So that became part of the feature. That's another example, a hackathon project turned into actual feature. And another way, this one is not really productionized yet, but like, so for example, when you try to log into Kickback asks like 10 different like wallet to sign in, and if you already know like what your go-to wallet is, it's quite annoying. So what they presented is like use ENS. If you type ENS name, it kind of knows which wallet you use. And how they did is they kind of extended resolver to put the Web3 provider information into the ENS so that like people don't have to choose any time. This is a way of extending resolver. That's the example of extending resolver. Any questions so far? Yes.
What is the hashing function for the actual like ADDR function that you use there? Like, what do you do to a domain name to get the basic hash?
I think for the label, it's just a SHA-3 or something, I think.
Okay.
Oh, I have the code later on. Okay. Yeah. But like, so there's a label hash and name hash. Label hash is just like a SHA of the, for example, if it's matoken.is, label is matoken, right? If you hash it, this is a label hash. But there's also another one called name hash. Name hash is like, I think you SHA each component, then you SHA the combined stuff and the stuff. Yeah.
So you like matoken and ETH?
Yeah.
And then
combine the hash, that kind of stuff. And yeah.
So if you have a subdomain, then what's the label hash?
Label hash is just, so if you have like a metamask.matoken.is, the whole thing is name hash. If you hash the whole thing, it's name hash. So when you do, for example, ENS.lookup address, you pass the whole thing, right? Because, yeah.
What's the label hash?
Label hash is when you, I can mention that, but that's when, label is mostly needed when you register a new name, which I can go through now. So that's a good transition. Any other question about resolver in general? Good. So resolver, so now I'm talking about build your own registrar. So one of the interesting things is like, who knows Argent wallet? Yeah, so Argent, yeah, cool. So like probably if you have Argent wallet, they actually give you a subdomain like johnargent.xyz when you create a wallet. Same for this is a new one called Ethereum. Has anyone used Ethereum? Yeah, it's kind of similar. They're both based like so-called contract-based wallet, and they also again like issue new name like chris.ethereum.is. So registrar, and also there is another example that anyone know Decentraland? Yeah, they just opened up the market that like you can create your own like a 3D virtual space you can navigate. So. And what they announced is that Decentraland has a new naming system that converts all names to an ERC721 token and as well as ENS. So they not only issue subdomains. So I actually played with Avatar. So this is me. I spent like about 30 minutes just trying to figure out best parts. Does that look like me? Ish? Yeah. Thank you. So if you do that, it's quite fun. Like you pick your own eyebrow and all that stuff. And eyebrow, yeah. Anyway, so if you create Makoto, then they actually create makoto.dcl.is, and you can just check it. So like it also creates a subdomain, and it also turning into ERC721. So the registrar is the ones to create your new subdomains, and I was quite intrigued how they did that. So in this example, I'll just look into how they did it. And it's quite simple. And yeah, so registrar is the one which assign subdomain or like set the name. And there is so when you purchase ENS name which ends with .eth, you are using I think fast in fast served. No, it's using S registrar actually. But there's other type like for example. In I think Ropstem, there's something called .test domain, just for the testing purpose. That one is just fast come fast served. So that has a lot simpler rule of like whoever, if it's not taken, you just take it. That's fast in fast served. And also like argent.xyz or .art, that's actually you have to send a proof that you actually own that internet domain. So we have special registrar called the DNS registrar. And also people start doing something like start setting subdomain. So like popular one nowadays is called ismoney.eth, which is started by the ETH Hub guys. Like you can buy basically Makoto ismoney.eth, and they sell the subdomain. And we already have the smart contract for that called subdomain registrar. Again, just another smart contract. But all they do, how you set it is like this is the basically the decentralized domain name. There's a notion called registrar and controller, and registrar is the owner of this domain, but controller is the one who be able to basically set the resolver, set address, do the actual operation. So the common practice is that you might want to keep this into your address, but you set this into the smart contract, so that rather than you creating subdomain all by yourself, you can create smart contract to automate. So this controller is an important one. And if you actually look into this smart contract address, you can actually look into their smart contract. Yes.
Can the controller can't call transfer?
Yes. So controller can. Registrant can set controller.
Yeah.
Controller can set them himself. So there is a button called transfer. So you can, if this is set to you, you can also transfer to someone else.
Okay.
But this guy always can override. Registrant is stronger than.
Registrant is the one who initially buys it,
Yes.
and then he can pass it to a controller.
Yes.
But they can still override the controller.
Correct.
And if the controller sells the domain, the controller can list the domain on OpenSea and sell it, right?
Probably registrants.
The registrant can. The question is, can the controller call safe transfer from?
Controller only can transfer controller's ownership. You can't sell.
Ownership, yeah, not just setting the resolver. So I think the controller is the ERC721 function concept, right?
I think registrant is I can show you the code now. And so this one is the, what was it looking, 2A1A. Actually, in this case, they set in the same smart contract to both registrant and controller. And actually, yeah, maybe you set registrant. I can't remember. I have to look into the code, sorry. But, this registrar, okay, so I think I made a wrong statement. If you want to create new registrar, you have to say here, I think. Confused. You do try and error and figure it out.
Because 721 has a concept of an owner and a controller. And I think I might be getting confused with the 721 concept of controller.
721 has no shell controller?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
So you have set approved, set approved, and set approved for all. So if you say set approved and you give an address, that is then the controller.
Okay, but the concept controller is different to what I described as controller.
Between that controller and this controller.
Yeah, we have another thing called controller inside ENS, which confuses the hell out of me all the time. But if you look at it, this DCL registrar, which you can verify from this Etherscan, how many? So 5 minutes left. You can see that it inherits in-house C721 contract, and the basic and you have to somehow pass registry, so that it's aware of the ENS. And the gist is when you register a new name like such as Makoto.dcl, what it's doing is calling set subnode owner, which you find in a registry contract, right? Like either you can. So it just does set registry, set subnode owner, and you put the domain name hash and the subdomain label hash. This is where you put the label hash. Yeah, and then after that, because in their case, they not only create a new name, but they also turn it as a ERC721. So it just calls .mint of the ERC721 contract. That's pretty much all they do. Then if you look into it, yeah, so this is one way of like turning into hash of the label is just a SHA-3 Makoto. One gist which I took a while to figure out is like if you go to Etherscan, if you just pass this one, you can return the correct address, like owner of. But OpenSea only recognizes the integer version, so you have to convert that into integer to be able to find the right one. So this is actually the nifty token of Makoto.dcl.is.
With no leading zeros.
Huh? Sorry?
Integer version with no leading zeros.
Integer version big of the SHA of the string.
That's an interesting choice.
Probably with leading zeros, right?
Huh?
Probably with leading zeros. I mean, L0 leading.
Big and two string won't give leading zeros.
Right.
Where's the leading
So,
zeros?
JavaScript.
So, yeah, I mean, like as a zero-padded hex would be really nice, but that's fine.
Yeah.
That's really good to know. That's not
Yeah.
the same as.
Okay. I think ideally OpenSea should. I was talking to OpenSea guys that you guys should actually show my avatar profile rather than just like this number because it doesn't look good. But probably because they just announced like last week, so you will get better. Yeah. But one thing I was looking into many people's integration, and quite often they set the controller, the owner, to you, but they don't set resolver and address. So when it's being assigned, you still don't have, you own it, but your ECM address is not set. So if you really want to do extra mile, you actually want to set the resolver and the address so that here, like Makoto DCL doesn't have resolver, so you have to enforce users to go to our manager and set resolver and set record. But if you do that on their behalf, it just does all the way. So that's probably UX-wise a lot better. So that's a little bit of tip. And so 2 minutes ago, so that's pretty much it. And then most of the smart contract is in GitHub. That we have lots of small ones. So we do have ENS is where it contains the registry information. If you go to is registrar, you go to this registrar, registrar is most of registrar have its own repo. So if you go to subdomain registrar, it has subdomain registrar information, and the resolver is it's all in one repo. So if you look into these, you can basically see the inside. And again, but docs is a good place to look into. And also if you want to play with how other people are doing, you go to API ENS domains and look at their control roller to see like what, you can check the source code and stuff. That's it. Any questions?
Yeah, is there,
yes.
There's no one else because I was so many.
Hey.
Is there any API out there that will give you either a list of domains that's owned by a particular address?
Good question. Good question.
Like a way of going from a hash back to the domain.
Possibly you are asking this information. Is if we go to Makoto this is my address, and if you go here, it shows you all the address owned by me.
How do you do that?
I just clicked the Ethereum address. This list, the graph.
Yeah. So this app is saying, okay, this address, what names does it own? But it can only get the hashes of those names from the smart contract, right?
Good question. I love it. Sorry. So what we do on the back is we go to the graph information. So like if you go to the graph ENS, who knows the subgraph API?
Okay.
Yeah, so you can actually go here, I think, where, I think, yeah. Yeah. So if you do the query says domains where name is makoto.is, the graph actually have a dictionary which do the dictionary check with all the hash. So they decode it for you. So like if you do Makoto where name equal makoto.is, it actually shows the label hash, label name, and this is a name hash. So you can see all of them there. This is like GOS and
Yes.
yeah.
How do they do it? How do they add new entries? Where?
So you go to the graph.com doc, that's their product, but they basically have the structure that for each event Ethereum emits, you write a handler to index. So they do all the indexing for you.
Does the event actually contain the name and text?
They only have hash, but for ENS they have a special function which calls our dictionary and they do the check. That's a special bit they added for us.
So then but the ENS thing has a hash to name mapping?
They have it.
They have it?
Yeah, about like million record.
But how did they get it?
Huh?
Where's the dictionary?
Nick comprised and Nick gave it to graph guys. It's in somewhere. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like available otherwise.
I know where that is. Talk to me afterward. But like I think most of our use case you can just use this.
And
Yes.
This is updated automatically? Like
This gets updated for well the dictionary data is not. It's just a generic information, static data. But this one gets done every time event is emitted. So it's very up to date.
But like, so the dictionary data isn't updated? So
It's just a static information.
But if I register a new domain today,
Yeah.
how long does it take for that name in text form to end up in this database?
Instantaneous.
Okay, cool. We
Yeah.
can ask afterwards how that happens.
Good.
Thank you.
So the difference between the registrant and the controller is only that the registrant can change.
I think registrant is the owner of the registrar, whereas controller is the owner of registry.
Ah.
That's the difference.
Yes. Registrar, not registrant. Right? If you look up on Whois, you get registrar and registrant. So like if you register a domain name, the registrar will be GoDaddy. And the registrant will be Makoto.
The owner of registrar is registrant.
Oh.
Owner of registry is controller.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and the registrant actually only exists in matoken.is level.
Okay.
If you go to subdomain, you actually don't have registrant in the ENS manager. It's just controller.
Okay.
Yeah. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.